Welcome, Speedsters, to a brand new Flash review. Now, this is for the mid-season finale, and, the end to the first big bad villain of the Flash Season 6. Now, what did I think of this episode? I thought it was good. I thought it was a good mid-season finale. I feel like it wrapped up Bloodwork's story reasonably well, but I don't know quite how to shake this feeling of that it just wasn't amazing. Do you know what I mean? And I don't mean any hate towards like the Flash or anything like that, or anything to do with this episode really, because I can't really find any proper holes or anything like that. I was just watching it, I was like, okay, that's the Bloodwork story kind of over and done with, and I enjoyed the episode. Of course I did. I thought it was good, but I just kind of wasn't, on the edge of my seat thinking, wow, this was such an amazing mid-season finale, and I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. It's just, it's not necessarily like some previous mid-season finales where you get like a season-long villain, and usually there might be a massive WTF moment, because of course that is reserved for Crisis on Infinite Earths this year, and technically we did get that at the end of this episode. I guess what I'm just trying to articulate is that as good as Bloodwork was, I feel like they did a really good job of him, throughout the first 8 episodes of this season. He was a convincing villain. I feel like he was acted very well. It was an engaging story. There wasn't as much filler. It just still wasn't, it just still wasn't like amazing. I think that's the only way I can put it. For one reason or another, or various reasons, it was just a solid Flash story. And I just think as a result, as much as I was watching this episode throughout, I wasn't neither overwhelmed with amazingness or I wasn't underwhelmed. I was just kind of coasting through it like, okay, it's a decent Flash episode. And I'm already hearing, a lot of people saying, I think the last episode, which a lot of people regard as, one of the best Flash episodes in terms of all the seasons, was better. So maybe that's why I'm feeling across this kind of vibe. But yeah, before we get into the details of this episode, guys, I will have my Arrow review up in a few hours time as usual after this Flash review. I'd really appreciate if you check that out. It should be in the cards above of this video if you're watching this a few hours later anyway. And of course, to any speedsters who want to find like a little Flash home outside this YouTube channel and other, nerdy videos of the like, join my Discord server. That link will be in a top pinned comment. Come say hi in the general chat, because I'm very active in there, and it'd be great to talk and speculate about all the CW shows there. But yeah, I think that's everything. So let's get into this video. So the episode started off basically as of the end of last episode, when Barry rushed out as Dark Flash, and that's when Cisco turned on this big force field on Star Labs just in case the Flash went dark. Convenient. But it didn't really bother me. It's like kind of cool, I guess. It didn't really serve, I guess, a massive purpose in the episode, because they ended up kind of taking it down anyway. But, we'll get to that. But I guess it's just one of the convenient things, which may have attributed to like why I felt like this episode was a bit like, not really spiking on the line graph in terms of amazingness. It was kind of like, a steady flow, because this is when Cisco also randomly brought out a photon emitter, which is strong enough to, in theory, destroy Ramsey's sentient infection. And unless I'm missing something, there wasn't like, the typical, we need to figure out a way to stop the villain. It was like in previous seasons, it was just conjured up by Cisco. Like, in theory, this should work. And I think maybe that is it. A few things in this episode felt a bit convenient, I guess, but you kind of just had to toss it to a side and enjoy the ride of what you could before Crisis on Infinite Earth starts. So yeah, photon emitter. Not that worked out anyway at the end, and it turned out to be something else. But yeah, Ramsey is causing complete havoc over Central City, turning most of the population into his blood brothers. This is where we had that little moment with Joe kind of confronting Bloodwork. I really like that line from Ramsey saying, "Russo was my human name, and he had human plans. My name is Bloodwork now." And that's one thing I will say about this episode. I want to save my thoughts for the CGI stuff until we get to that, but I really enjoyed what they did with this villain. They made kind of like a typical kind of Flash villain, one who isn't necessarily highlighted in his rogues gallery, if you will, as much as what you would think that of to be like the Thinker, or not even the Thinker, sorry, just like Zoom or the Reverse Flash. They made this villain, especially when we get to that CGI moment, which I was very happy with, very, very, very decent. And it felt like, even though it's a half-season big bad villain, it was fleshed out very well. So, honestly, kudos to pulling pulling this off, Eric Wallace, because you've got another villain after Crisis, and this was an experiment at the end of the day to change things up on the Flash, and I feel like they haven't let us down. Like that Bloodwork, if you look at it analytically compared to like Cicada and stuff like that, you can't really compare them, because Bloodwork was that much better than a freaking metahuman who can just fly away every 2 seconds. They really handled it very well this season. At the same time, we had little moments in the episode with Dark Flash, like where Iris got kind of summoned to meet him, and she basically walked straight into that. I kind of appreciated the little reverse Flash hand and how we realized Barry had to fight absolutely, or should I say fight everything in his mind to not actually go through and kill Team Flash, which was pretty cool, because obviously Dark Flash is completely more or less taken over by Bloodwork, to the point where we actually saw Ramsey speaking through Barry. So I enjoyed Dark Flash. At the same time, as much as I saw many comments saying like, I hope we get to see more of him because this is like a cool opportunity, we didn't. I felt like, I get the circumstances because we are episode 8 now, Crisis, la-di-da-da. Dark Flash was yet another really cool thing they could have done something with, but unfortunately it was just, it was utilized for what it was meant to be used for, I guess. But, I guess what I'm trying to say is that having a dark Barry Allen like that with the dark lightning or Speedforce and stuff like that, I felt like could have been played a little bit more. Unless I'm forgetting, I enjoyed another power being showcased by Caitlin, or should I say Killer Frost, where she did like the frost clap, which sent like this area of effect frost power, knocking all of the other Blood Brothers down. And that's when she had that moment in the episode as well, where she kind of had another panic moment, but was then, reassured by Caitlin to heal Joe. I do kind of get it. I criticized it before. It's just like, why can't you just flip over to Caitlin? And I was expecting that again, like, why don't you just do that? She can sort it out. And then they did. And then she was like, well, I need your frost powers to do this. So I'm glad they did that, because I felt like the first time they did it, I think last episode, it didn't really make sense why she didn't just, transition to Caitlin. Like, why didn't you just do that so she could fix the situation? There was no need for it. But I get this episode, they kind of wanted to add that problem for her to actually have to do that with Joe, to kind of give that confidence to Killer Frost. And by the end of the episode anyway, they were talking to each other, and she was saying how proud of her that she was the past few months, and how she's really coming into her own. And I agree. Killer Frost has probably been the strongest she has ever been in The Flash. And I really like this iteration of her. Although I do feel like sometimes this may, you may feel this way, you may not. I do feel like the Caitlin comes through on the Killer Frost acting. I don't know if any of you get that sometimes. Sometimes when Daniel Panabaker is in Killer Frost mode, Killer Frost speaks in such a way that it feels like she's dropped the Killer Frost persona and that she is Caitlin Snow. And I could be wrong about that, but it's just from my observation, she's not really maintaining character like 24/7. But it could just be because they've dropped the eyes now, and sometimes some lines are just said that way. Just something that I picked up and I thought I'd mention. By this point of the episode, we had Cisco jump out of the breach portal and use the photon emitter on Bloodwork, just literally out of nowhere, and it looked like it was working, but then it didn't. Dark Flash came in, destroyed the photon emitter, so they had to find a whole new way of doing it, and they basically realized that Barry Allen had been saying things through, or at least trying to convey messages to Iris and Cisco for a way to stop Bloodwork. And ultimately, the biggest giveaway here was Iris and Cisco let the light in, and so this wasn't for Ramsey to spread his infection to the city, it was ultimately for Allegra to spread the antidote with, as Cisco put it, one hell of a UV blast. Which I thought, even though I'm not completely sold on Allegra at the minute, it was like a cool way to resolve this story, because obviously a particle accelerator moment with Bloodwork's infection going out and literally contaminating everyone in the city would have been ridiculous, so a way to counteract that with her powers was a cool way to go. And also, before I forget, no Ralph this episode. It's just like, why? I get that, like, he was injured last episode and like they kind of had to sort him out, but it's like, what? Surely he could be better by now, or at least for a scene or two. I don't really know what the real reason for that behind the scenes was, but no Ralph, I guess. And now, without going over every little minuscule detail, Allegra blasted the UV wave at the freaking particle accelerator. The little blood that was going around in circles, basically turned into a cure for everyone, and everyone was fine in Central City. And this is where Barry had to go and face Bloodwork, which somehow he managed to escape the same room as they were all in. Convenient. But anyway, this I actually really enjoyed. I was quite apprehensive of this. I think if you knew what was coming in terms of Bloodwork taking that monster form, it's been teased in previous episodes. we all knew it was going to be CGI, and if you kind of knew what Bloodwork looks like in the comics anyway, in the comic accurate version, this kind of big hulking monster, obviously with the CW and their CGI, it was going to be interesting to see how this would actually look. And I have to say, seriously, it was done very well. Like, round of applause. It was done a lot better than what I thought. It was great even. Maybe in daylight it would have looked like a lot more blatant, that it was maybe not as great visual effects, but honestly at nighttime, and I'm even doubting me saying that, maybe it would have looked great at daytime because it looked that good. It really did. And he looked hideous. Like, the skull was really cool. He was very insanely comic book accurate. Could have gone on a little bit longer, but honestly it went on longer than what I initially thought it would, because you know, when he sliced the car and Barry did all the Speedforce punching, I thought it was going to be over there and then, but it wasn't. It still continued a little bit. So yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised. And as I said, even though I didn't find this this mid-season finale like absolutely mind-blowing, I still feel like, you know, analytically or critically, from the beginning to episode 8 with this Bloodwork villain, they did a solid job, and it's been concluded now. You know, he was returned to the Mac, not the pipeline, and that's it. Like, that's the way to contain him for now. I kind of like, this is the way I like things to go in the comics, like not killing villains or anything like that. Lock him away. He can't be cured, and he will come back another day, kind of thing. I also like that line from Barry, you know, after, you know, he put Bloodwork in the Mac, saying, "Now it's time for our next fight," because literally Crisis was happening when the clock strikes 12, and that leads me to that scene where they're all kind of saying their sentiments for Barry. Kind of, it's almost like a Thanksgiving thing. Like, I'm thankful for you, Barry. You saved my life. At this point, it was really nice and sentimental. And it was just kind of reminiscing over things. I really liked how we even found out that Iris was vibed to the waterfront for the kiss that she never knew she kind of had with Barry before he had to save the world, kind of thing. You know, do you remember season 1, that kind of scene where the wave was coming? I believe that's what she was on about. I found that really cool, that little insight there. And that's when the red skies came, guys. Like, literally, Crisis is here. And it was a nice way to end the episode. It was really kind of chilling, having the skies being overtaken like that. And it just means shit's about to get real. To put it very bluntly, things are going to get very insane next week. And that was, I think, basically the close to the episode. And one thing I haven't spoken about yet is Nash Wells. So during this episode, we had him kind of speaking to Marnovu. I did find it a bit cringy in the way that, like, Marnovu was saying, like, bow to me and things like that. I don't feel like we've had him speak like that before to anyone else, so I don't really get what the whole bow to me thing was about. I know that they wanted to bestow the pariah powers upon him or whatever, and after the various things we saw from him throughout the episode with the Blood Brothers and stuff like that, the main thing I want to get to talk about is that scene where he was like touching the kind of paragon symbols on the wall, and he was basically sucked into the room, so to speak, because he believed he was saved by Marnovu, but technically that was Allegra's little wave that stopped the Blood Brothers, so I don't really know why he thought that. I guess he's going to be turned into Pariah now, and that's how we're going to see Nash Wells in the crossover. So that's probably who you've been seeing in the trailers all this time. But honestly, if you have the time, go back to the scene where Nash Wells was saying, you know, I've been hunting you across the multiverse, and now here you saved my life. The voice from Marnovu, though, didn't really sound like the Monitor. It really didn't. Maybe I'm going crazy, but it didn't sound like Marnovu. It didn't sound like the Monitor. It sounded like somebody else stood in and did those voice acting lines, and they put the same effect on it. Maybe I'm going crazy. Just wanted to mention that it just really didn't sound like him. That was the episode, guys. So mid-season finale. Decent episode. Just looking forward to the second half of The Flash Season 6 now. Maybe that's a bit premature to say, but we've all been wondering about the second villain, whether that's the Black Hole organization or if it's something else. We're going to have to just wait and see. But I would love to hear your thoughts and speculation on what we're going to see in the second half, and also, obviously, what you thought of The Flash Season 6, introducing this two-villain storyline this season, and just let me know how you thought they did with the first half villain. Other than that, though, everyone, if you did enjoy this video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button. It only takes 2 seconds of your time, and especially, honestly, if you got this far, why not do it? It just, yeah, really means a lot, so thank you if you do go ahead and do that. Subscribe if you're brand new. new. And also, if you're not brand new and you just don't have notifications on, make sure you hit the bell button so you never miss out on a future video. Check out my Crisis video that I did yesterday. It's of, I believe, the final trailer. It's an insane trailer that shows us Kevin Conroy Batman, Smallville Clark Kent. It's very good. Watch it if you haven't done so already. But that is everything, guys. So check out my last couple of videos appearing alongside me here. Join my Discord server, as already said. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you speedsters in the next video, which should be my Arrow video. So see you there. Goodbye.